don't know how many of you have heard this story. Well, it's not a story, it's a news article about the kidnapping that happened in Wales in August 2024. And kidnappings are fairly rare as far as I know in the United Kingdom, but this one didn't even make the news, not in a big way. And what happened was a man was lured, I think he was from London, lured away from his home to what he was told was a music seminar. This guy's a very successful music producer, lured away from his home in London to Wales to meet with these guys for this music seminar, gets to an isolated cottage in the countryside in Wales. As him and the taxi driver, I don't know what the taxi driver was doing going into the house, but anyway, as him and the taxi driver go into the house, there's a struggle. They're attacked by masked men. The taxi driver flees and doesn't go back and help the guy that was caught in the house, which again, we've got to ask questions about that. I'm not suggesting the taxi driver was involved in any way, shape or form, but I'd like to think if you get involved in that sort of struggle, you're going to at least try and retaliate. Maybe not. It depends on, I suppose, your physical abilities and all that sort of thing. Anyway, putting that to one side. Taxi driver runs away, leaves this guy in the house. The guy is grabbed by the three assailants who are balaclavaed up, beaten, handcuffed to a radiator. Then he escapes, gets him outside the house, hides in some bushes, calls the police. The police come and arrest the culprits. Okay? Kidnapping. You would think that would be major news. I remember years ago, this is when I was a kid, there was a kidnapper called the Black Panther. And he kidnapped this young girl. He hid her down in a sort of sewer network. And it was on the news every single day. Didn't miss. And eventually got caught, I think, by a karate expert in a chip shop or something crazy like that. But anyway, the little girl had died. He'd left her there too long. And as far as I know, the girl died. I digress. Getting back to this kidnapping. Why the radio silence about this? Well, the record producer that was kidnapped was Jewish. The kidnappers were three young Muslim men, three young Muslim thugs from somewhere in West Yorkshire. Surprise, surprise. So they planned this. This wasn't sort of some random thing. They'd gone to a lot of planning. They'd paid a taxi to come, however far it was, I think it was London, into Wales, dropped this guy off and kidnapped him, beat him, and thankfully he escaped and managed to call his wife on his phone. The police came. The hapless jihadis ran into a field to try and escape, and the police caught them. But there's no real buzz about this in the news. There's nobody talking about these three Muslim guys kidnapping a Jewish guy in what is obviously a religiously and politically motivated crime, which to me is terrorism. And again, it's not been called terrorism. But if they'd have murdered this guy, if they'd have tortured this guy and murdered this guy, they said they were looking for money, but would they have let him go? There was a very similar incident in France where a young Jewish man was kidnapped. And again, as far as I remember, in this case, his family didn't have any money, or didn't have a lot of money. So this young lad was tortured, he was brutally beaten, he was set on fire, and he died on the way to hospital. This could have been exactly the same sort of scenario. And the guy that was kidnapped, the Jewish guy, said he felt like it was his own October the 7th. But the question, again, is why the radio silence? Why are the media not talking about this? And may I humbly suggest that the media are not talking about this because they've been told not to talk about it and because they're cowards. Because they don't want to stoke anything that looks like Muslims in the United Kingdom kidnapping Jewish people and doing them harm. Because the state doesn't want it, the establishment doesn't want it, and the mainstream media doesn't want it. So we need to talk about it and we need to ask questions. Thankfully, this man escaped and thankfully these people have been sent to prison. But the final point is this. What do you think you would get for kidnapping someone? Religiously motivated crime, racially motivated crime, politically motivated crime. 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, maybe it's a life sentence for kidnapping. I don't know. Don't know what the sentencing guidelines are. These two young scumbags got 8 years each. If they get 50% remission, they'll be out in 4. If they get 60%, do the maths, they're going to be out in less than 4, 3 and something years. For kidnapping a Jewish guy, when the judge said it was racially and religiously motivated or religiously motivated, Something really stinks about this case, about everything, about the radio silence in the media, the soft sentencing, and the fact that nobody in the chatterati, in the chattering classes, in the political classes, are asking questions about this. In the same way that David Amos's family can't get an inquiry into his brutal murder by a jihadi, this Jewish man thought it was his October the 7th. Thankfully it wasn't, but no thanks to anybody in the British establishment. See you all soon.